All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. Free agency has just begun, but the Lions have been quietly killing it, making great signing and great re-signing time and time again. They're bringing back old guys, bringing in new guys to the fold, all at great deals. I think Brad Holmes and the Lions have been doing a phenomenal job so far. Let's get into the article and read about some of the moves they made now, and I'm going to get your opinion on them on the other side. This, of course, is from over on Pride of Detroit. It says, according to a report from Adam Schefter, the Lions are signing Graham Glasgow to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Great deal right there going on. The Detroit Lions continue to work to fill out their cornerback room. Per NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, the Lions are signing former Raiders cornerback Amik Robertson to a 2-year deal worth $9.25 million. Jeremy Fowler is reporting the deal includes $4.5 million guaranteed. Another good deal. And finally, the Lions are trading the second of their third-round picks this year for Carlton Davis plus a 2024 sixth-round pick and a 2025 sixth-round pick. Once again, a great trade on the Lions' part as well. Nick, 3 great moves by the Lions. Curious what your thoughts are, but Detroit fans, let us know in the comments section below. What do you grade the free agency period so far by Detroit? I know it's only early, but majority of the big moves come early on in free agency, then things trickle in as they come along. So a good portion of the moves has already been made. Let us know what your grade is for Detroit in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on these 3 moves for Detroit?
So first of all, the value they're getting is absolutely ridiculous. And look, we all see the headline grabbing moves of these mega deals and things like that, where stars are going from one team to another team. A sort of second tier player, maybe not a superstar, but a quality player gets a huge deal with a different team. And everyone kind of sits and waits like, okay, who's going to make the next big splashy move? But all the Lions have done is done nothing but make really smart moves with a lot of value. If you look at other interior offensive linemen, and if you look at, for example, the Panthers signing former Miami Dolphin Robin Hunt to a 5-year, $100 million deal, right? You look at the Philadelphia Eagles re-signing Dickerson, their interior offensive lineman, to an $80 million deal. In fact, the Panthers doled out another $50+ million for another guard. I believe it was Damian Lewis. So again, we're seeing tens and tens of millions of dollars being thrown around, in some cases $100 million, $50 million, $80 million to interior offensive linemen. Graham Glasgow graded out higher than those guys. He's a better player. He's a veteran. He's a grown-up. He's been part of deep playoff runs, obviously going back to last season. They got him to a 3-year, $20 million deal, right? An incredible value. They basically are paying like 20%, 30% of the price for a player who, in my opinion, is veteran. He's got the perfect experience and he's performing better. Incredible job by Brad Holmes. When you focus then onto Amik Robertson, I think it's another value guy. This is a guy who improved under the Antonio Pierce legacy when he took over the second half of the Raiders and really just started killing it for the Raiders defense, making all kinds of big plays, helping out a defense that really turned it around the second half of the year. And here's where the great part is. Antonio Pierce, he's kind of been compared to Dan Campbell in Detroit for being a very players-oriented, old-school guy. That's where Robertson started to thrive more. I think you're getting a guy who's playing his best football in a very similar kind of culture at a dumpster fire price. I mean, he's not even in the top 40 in terms of corners, in terms of guaranteed deal. I think there's a lot of value here, but I think the big one here is Carlton Davis, right? You're looking to make a Super Bowl run. You're looking to make a championship run. You just got a Super Bowl champion corner, a guy who has got an incredible amount of playoff experience, a guy who can play at a very high level for a very great price, right? A third-round pick, essentially, right? And you got a few other late picks to throw in there as a kicker to your side as well. These are 3 just great, outstanding moves by Detroit Lions. And there's one thing I want to end on here quick, Miles, before I throw it back over to you. If you look at all the other teams making the big splashy moves, the big deals, the dollar signs where things are flowing around, they're the Atlanta Falcons, right? They're the Chicago Bears are spending a lot of money like they were last season, right? The Cleveland Browns sometimes spend a lot of money. You hear teams like that. Those aren't the winners, right? Those aren't the guys dominating the top of the National Football League. The Denver Broncos are in the news all the time. Even the Raiders, who I really like under Antonio Pierce, they're spending a lot of money. They haven't been good forever, right? The Carolina Panthers are doling out incredible amounts of money. They're not a good franchise right now. Do you want to be one of those teams winning the headlines in March, but losing the games come fall? No. Who are the quiet teams? The Chiefs, Super Bowl champion. The 49ers, Super Bowl runner-up. The Lions are acting like the champions. They're acting like the 49ers. They're following that same model. So credit to Brad Holmes. He's not falling in love with trying to make the big headlines, right? He's getting high value moves made to help his roster out following the model of the Kansas City Chiefs because he knows that's where he wants his team to be. He doesn't want to win in March in terms of winning the headlines. He wants to win in September, October, November, December, January, and hopefully February 2025. Brad Holmes has been very quiet, but he's had an outstanding start to this free agency period.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Being quiet under the radar is always typically the best way to go in free agency. Fill in your depth, get quality guys at great prices, but don't be the splashy team. You think of teams that have been splashy in the past. I think of the Miami Dolphins. Some of their
Yeah.
picks boom, some of their picks bust. And I will be honest here. Tyreek Hill, obviously the pick boom, mega boom for them. The Jalen Ramsey pick, I think that it probably hasn't gone exactly the way that they wanted to there as well. You look at the Chargers, boom or bust. JC Jackson, definitely mega bust. Khalil Mack, I think he's been good, but you feel like you're going to have to let go of him. Was it worth to bring him in anyways? I think having be the team that really spends mega dollars in free agency, it doesn't ever feel good after the fact. The initial, like, yes, we got this player, feels great. But after the fact, you're like, well, it's going to hinder us here, hinder us there. It's always better to get these under the radar type of deals, really solid things to add the depth on your team and then kind of do your big stuff through the draft. That is what the smart teams are doing. And the Lions, like you, as you said, are a smart team and they're making a lot of smart moves right now.
And especially when you consider where they're trying to get to, right? Because this is a Lions team, obviously, in the middle of a title window, right? They're going to really good chance to win the Super Bowl. They were the second best team in the NFC. And frankly, they outplayed the 49ers in San Francisco for the majority of the NFC Championship game. So they are in their title window. That's obvious. And we were trying to make a run to actually win that championship. That you don't want to rely on a bunch of kids. You don't want to throw your fate for a bunch of third round draft picks, 21 years old, coming out of UNLV, seeing if they can figure out the National Football League. No, you make smart moves for cheap veterans, guys who have played there before. Glasgow, experienced, knows the culture, knows the environment. Robertson got his best performance with a similar environment in Vegas, right? A veteran, a grown up, a guy who's overcome some adversity, been there before. And then you have Carlton Davis, a guy who has a Super Bowl ring, a guy who literally knows what it takes to win a championship because he's done it before, right? This is the kind of people you want if you're making a Super Bowl run. The kind of people you see other teams sign, right? You get the flashy guy that's never had a winning season who gets a mega deal, right? You get a guy who's never been a big time performer who signs the best deal, or you have a team trade up in the draft to sign a top flight rookie to see if they can carry you all the way, right? That's not what the smart teams do, right? The championship teams, the best programs, right, that we talk about all the time. The Kansas City Chiefs are like that now. The Patriots were like that for the better part of 2 decades. They slid under the radar for the most part. They added veterans. They added grown-ups, right? They added people that had been there before that could help their roster make those incremental steps to a title. That's what Brad Holmes is doing right now for the Detroit Lions. It's not getting a lot of attention, but it will pay big dividends come fall.